Hey, One Hope Church. Hey, I just want to give you a little vision update. It's been about 10 weeks since my last update back in September. At that time I noted that, when the coronavirus first really came on everybody's radar back in early March or whenever it was and the lockdowns happened, as a church, we went into immediate crisis mode, emergency mode, and very quickly kind of implemented some things with the idea that if we can just somehow survive as a church till the summer, July, let's say, that we'd be fine. The pandemic will be gone by the summer and we can go back to normal. In other words, we were in survival mode. We were in maintenance mode, and for good reason, I think, during those months. But as things did not resolve in July, and as things continued to drag on and indeed even escalate as we moved into the fall with no end in sight, my challenge in that last video, September 20th vision component, was that we just can't afford to stay in maintenance mode as a church. We can't stay in survival mode. We have to take the pause button off the kingdom. We can't keep the kingdom of God on pause. And so we need to pray, Holy Spirit, how can we be the hands and feet and voice of Jesus even in these really challenging times, and to press forward rather than shrinking back in fear. And so my challenge at the time to you and to me was we got to figure out how to do that in this coming year. And so that was one thing I shared. And then the other thing I just noted in that September 20th video was one of the things we'd be doing kind of along these lines is experimenting with different ways of doing church. And I'll tell you how I've been kind of looking at this. The church right now, and indeed all of society, is in this period of major disruption. And we're going to continue to be in that place at least till the spring, if not longer. And so rather than being depressed about that or discouraged or just stay in maintenance mode, let's use this as an opportunity to try some things that, quite frankly, maybe we would never have tried before. And so that's what we're doing right now. And so with the elders' blessing, what we're doing right now is we are experimenting with something called the cell church model. Now, many of you have probably heard me use that phrase before because that's my background. I was part of several cell churches before coming to One Hope Church. And indeed, though I've never intended to try to make One Hope Church a cell church in the 8 years that I've been here, I've really tried to implement a lot of the values of cell church. And that's kind of where the Life Together groups came from, and the small group structure. And you've heard me talk about the two-wing structure of the church, the large group wing and the small group wing, and you need them both. They're equally important. And that comes from the cell church model. And so in some ways, what we're trying right here, what we're experimenting with, it's not that radically different from what we've been doing, but in other ways it is really, really very different. And I'll just give you a picture of what that looks like. And let me just, again, emphasize, we're experimenting with this. We're not deciding to do this. It's kind of like trying on a new piece of clothes. We're using this as an opportunity to try some new clothing on, looking at ourselves in the mirror, see how it feels, see how it fits, and then we can decide to go back to our regular clothes at the end of this. But as we if you would kind of just humor me, do that with me for a second. Let's put this on and see what it looks like. It's not that much radically different from what we currently do. I mean, I want you to go to Ocean 5 for worship on Sunday morning, and I want you to be part of Life Together group, two-wing structure of the church. This actually would simplify things quite a bit because it just means we still do the two-wing structure of the church, but we don't do them both in the same week. And so most Sunday mornings you would be gathering for worship in a home-based worship service gathering. And the term that we use for that is we call it a cell group. And that's not a very pretty title or word, it's a functional word. And the reason we use that term, at least just in a functional way, is because it describes kind of how everything fits together. You know how like a physical body is made up of individual cells, but those cells are not just out there on their own. They collectively make up this physical body of ours. And so it's the same thing with the cell church. Each home-based worship gathering is a cell. It's a cell group, but they're not on their own. They need each other. We need each other. And so collectively, all of the different groups meeting in homes identify as one single congregation, one church, one Hope Church. And so you're experiencing church together in that home, going through the same messages together like we're currently doing with the worship service videos, and praying together, and discussing, and planning outreach together, and just really doing life together and enjoying each other's company. And it's a great way to invite new people in to experiencing that really kind of casual, organic way of doing church. But then, because we're also part of something bigger than our own little cell group, all of the whole church, then all the groups meet together at least once a month at, let's say, Ocean 5 for what we call a celebration service. And we celebrate what God's been doing in the life of our cell groups throughout that month, and share testimonies, and have worship and prayer, and hopefully some baptisms as people come to faith in Jesus as they're invited into our homes. And so I've experienced this model of doing church. Sandy and my kids have. It's a great model when it's done right. And so we're trying it on. Again, we're not deciding for sure this is what we're going to do. But to that end, as kind of an experiment, as we're kind of experimenting with this, again, with the elders' blessing, since September, I started what we're calling a prototype group. And it's just kind of a first cell group to kind of, let's just figure out how to do it and work out the bugs before we try to get anybody else to try to do it. So, and so since September, 6 couples, including my family, have been meeting every Sunday morning in our home for this kind of home-based worship. And we've been doing it safely. We've been following all of the state guidelines for churches. I got permission from Sandy to completely rearrange the living room and our dining room and combining into one great room. And so I've got all of the couches spaced apart 6 feet at least. And Caleb is over 6 feet now. So we actually use Caleb as a ruler to make sure that everything is spaced apart appropriately. And I've got the fans going, and the windows are open. There's cross ventilation happening, and we wear our masks. Initially I had us wear a mask when we're walking around, but you could take it off to drink your coffee or when you're sitting in your couch bubble. But more recently, with the increased escalation of coronavirus and the increased restrictions that have been put in place in the guidelines, we've followed those guidelines too. And so currently we don't do coffee, we don't do snacks, we wear the masks the whole time, we don't do any singing. So we really are following all the state guidelines for churches when we meet. And as I share that, I know some of you are thinking, man, I want to be a part of that. Why can't I be a part of that? And well, we want you to be a part of that. And in getting this first one going, we obviously had to limit it to what we could safely gather in our home with, and really we were maxed out of those 6 couples. We could not safely have any more than that. But the other reason we needed to limit it was, again, we were kind of working out the bugs. We're trying different things for a while, and so some weeks we would watch the sermon together and then discuss it, and then more recently, but we've been trying out watching the sermon ahead of time, and then so that we have more time to discuss when we do gather. So we're trying different things, but we are at a place now. If this resonates with you and you're hungering for something like this, and we're ready after the first of the year to expand this into at least 1 more, maybe 2 more kind of house church gatherings. We've got one other home identified that is large enough to safely gather, again, with the state guidelines for churches in place. We're looking for one other home that might work as well. And so if this is something that interests you, very soon you're going to have opportunity to participate if you want. If this doesn't interest you, you can just ignore this. You don't have to worry about it at all. We're not going to stop doing the worship service videos every week. We're going to continue to do whatever we can to hold us together as a church, and to support our small groups through Zoom and all this. But I would at least, whether you're interested in this or not, I would invite you to explore this with us at some level, to at the very least be praying for us as we explore this model as a church, and just ask, Holy Spirit, is this something that might be a unique fit for One Hope Church. And again, we're trying on the clothes, seeing how it fits. I mean, One Hope Church is a very relational church. Always has been. Was before I got here. I just think God's been preparing you all along for this model of doing church, which is a very relational way of doing church. And also, there's no other church in Gig Harbor or in the whole Kitsap County, as far as I know, that is this model of doing church. So it may really be our unique niche for One Hope Church. So another way, though, that you can explore this model with us, and I would just also say, too, if you're in the high-risk category, I would just encourage you to not jump in with this as far as meeting together. But there are other ways that you can pursue this with us. And I'll just throw this out for you, if we have any readers among us, any interested folks to kind of explore this at a reading level. I'm having our entire leadership, elders and all of our group leaders read this book called The Second Reformation, Reshaping the Church for the 21st Century. And it's basically about the cell church model. And so we're going to be reading it and discussing it in coming months. I'll just say right off the bat, I don't agree with everything in this book, and you certainly don't need to either, but I think it does a really great job of stirring the pot a bit and helping us really think through what is church and what does it mean to be a New Testament church, and what did Jesus mean when he created the church. So I'll have that linked. You can pick that up for yourself if you'd like to read through that with us, or at least I want you to be aware that we're doing that and we're exploring these things. And now, some of you are probably wondering, where is all this going? And so let me give you 3 scenarios where this could be going. Number one, it could be that we get to spring or summer, and this is really working, and we're excited about it. Bottom line, this model, it's either going to work or it's not going to work. And if it doesn't work, we're not going to do it. If it just looks good on paper but doesn't work, we're not going to do it. So, but if people are excited about it, it's working, then we may just continue on with this model even when we're able to meet in person again and explore what that looks like. And I would foresee us still budgeting the same for Ocean 5, but we'd just be meeting there once a month on Sunday mornings, but that would free up monies to have kids clubs meeting at Ocean 5 on Wednesday nights and youth groups at Ocean 5 on Sunday nights or whatnot. So there's still other ways that we can continue to build that community presence in Ocean 5. But our motto is taking the church to where the community gathers. That will hopefully be Ocean 5 again, but it's also in our homes. And so it fits that context as well, that kind of larger kind of piece of our vision. So that's one scenario. A second scenario, though, is we get to spring or summer and you go, love you, Peter, but we just don't want to do the cell church thing. Let's go back to meeting at Ocean 5. And in which case, I think we'd go back to meeting Ocean 5, but with a really strengthened small group network of Life Together groups. And so from a personal perspective, it's a win-win for me, whether we ultimately do the cell church model long-term or go back to kind of the model we had. I think it's going to be a positive for us. And then there's actually a third option. There could be a hybrid between those two. Maybe we meet at Ocean 5 one Sunday, and the next Sunday we meet in small groups, and then we're back at Ocean 5 for teaching, and then next Sunday we're back in small groups to discuss. And it's exciting. We can explore different ways of doing church. To see this as an opportunity to really to think through. The vision doesn't change, but how can we look at how we can further implement that vision? And that's maybe where I want to just kind of end with. At the end of the day, I don't care what model we do. I care that we do something that works. That's what I really care about. But the point is not how we do it. It's really the DNA of this. And the DNA is relational lifestyle evangelism, helping people to come to know Jesus who don't know Jesus, and doing the work of discipleship, which is helping our membership base become more Christ-like, and then together going forth in mission and outreach. And that doesn't change. That's still our vision. The know, grow, show piece is still our vision. So we're not moving away from that. We're just looking at, are there better ways for us to implement that vision? And let's use this chaotic, disruptive year to do that. So just that's what's happening. Want everyone to at least be aware of it, and you can certainly shoot me an email. We can do a quick Zoom call together if you have questions. I'd love to chat with you about it. Let me pitch this to you. Let me try to show you the great value of it. At the end of the day, we are an elder-led congregation, and the elders have blessed us with experimenting with this model, but they have not put their stamp of approval on it yet, and so and they may not. And so we will kind of have that discussion, in the spring or summer, as not just a leadership team, but with all of you as well. And as we kind of ask the question, is this a model for us as a church? All right. Thanks for listening to this, and I love you guys. These are challenging times. I want you to know I'm praying for each and every one of you. I've got my list of all of your names. I pray through that list. I love you guys, and these are hard times, divisive times potentially too. And let's stay committed to one another in love, praying for each other, talking to one another, seeking for ways to build community with one another, not moving away from that. Lord's going to see us through. He will finish what he started. All right, bless you guys, and we will talk to you soon.